We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. We're back in the SMI studio here with Mike Nuss. Mike.
Slumlords suck. Let's set the tone for today. Let's go.
Mike's got to throw shade right out of the gate. We got Trevor and Dane here. We want to talk a little bit. What are we talking about? The fish that Trevor caught, or the fact he played basketball at 3 a.m, or we want to talk about wealth transfer?
We could talk about the fish I caught. Biggest one of my life.
If you don't touch it with your hands, you didn't catch it.
All right.
Did you take a bite? Did you take a bite out of it?
I normally just bite the head as soon as I catch it. Yeah. But this one jumped off the hook.
So Trevor and Dane live on the river, the Willamette River. I don't know if you should be eating anything out of that river, but you started.
Gives you superpowers.
So you caught a fish, or you didn't catch a fish. You tried to catch a fish.
First cast out, we're in the perfect little fishing hole, and you within 10 casts every time you get one. It's pretty cool.
So you did it first cast.
Yeah.
You caught a fish. How big?
It was like 16 inches.
He's holding his arms out to about 5 feet right now. You're a true fisherman. So how do you know how long it was if you didn't actually reel it in? You're just guessing?
It was right there. I brought it all the way to my feet, and then it was jumping around, and it was aggressive fish.
Oh, aggressive.
Yeah,
it didn't want you to kill it or take a bite out of its head.
Well, I catch and release right now because I want to start the Traeger so then we can bring it straight to the Traeger once I catch it. But I wasn't prepared.
Smoke a live fish.
Yeah, I had to go to bed early. So
all right. So today we're going to talk about, well, Mike wants to throw shade at slumlords, but we're going to talk about wealth transfer. So you guys did Investor Lab last night. Tell us about it. It happened.
It was the coolest one.
It's called Seller 54. Is that where you do it?
Yeah.
AJ Space down in the bottom of the Forge. AJ, Chris Blackburn, and Nat Borchards were your guests. How'd it go?
Dude, it was great. The space was awesome. It felt like a hangout. It felt kind of like a Portland one where, you know, an hour of networking is a long time.
Networking prior or after?
Yeah, so same setup as Portland. So check in at 6, network for an hour, presentation starts at 7, and people were showing up at like 5:45. I think by 6:15, there's probably 60, 70 people in the room. And it's a big space. It's a really big space. They have some other space to go along with it. The bar's cool. They could stock it a little bit better on the bar side.
They're brand new, right? I mean,
that might have been the first event.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They've got photos on their website that looks like an event, but that might have been staged.
Yeah. Or AI.
Yeah. But it's a great space. It's big. It's wide. It was a good first run. So we have some things that we can improve upon, but it was fun and the energy was great.
So people that want to do Investor Lab, it's every month, but one month it's in Portland, next month it's in Salem. It happens the
second Thursday of the month, odd months in Portland, even months in Salem.
And that happens at 6 p.m. Is there a cost to come, or is it?
We did it for free last night. We'll start charging a little for Salem.
$10 or something.
Yeah, Portland's we varied, but it's like $20.
I heard there were some heavy hitters in the room.
There were some heavy hitters,
writing big checks, like doing big projects, 400-unit projects and stuff.
That's the whole goal. The whole goal is to get people that are invested in the community, putting their dollars in, and bringing that mindset and energy to the group. And then at the same time, you still have people that are getting started. There's a lot of young people getting into real estate right now. A lot of 20-year-olds, 21,
there's people
22.
that drove 3 hours to be there.
Yeah.
Like I came from Bend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a trek.
That's crazy.
How'd they hear about it? Just from social media or whatever?
Yeah, dude, shout out to Becca. We got our marketing lady back, amazing Rebecca. So now we have access to our social media logins now, and so there's some organizational skills that have happened. And so I'm really excited about where Investor Lab's going at this point, because I think we do it a little bit different. That just comes from the mindset. That just comes from the people that we put on stage. And then the other thing is, how many meetups have a professional event venue and an hour of networking prior to?
What was your topic? What did you guys talk about?
The wealth transfer.
Wealth transfer. Okay.
And it wasn't about that. It was more of Salem's on the brink. Salem is a really good example of a community that's about to take off. And so talking about, I've said this before, local, regional, institutional. How does money, the different stacks of capital, influence what a city becomes? And Salem right now has had a lot of local money dropped into it, and we're on the verge of regional money coming in. You could argue institutional money with the cannery project. And so what is the mindset around
Certainly
that?
institutional money. With
Do you know much about
that?
How much?
$150 million.
That'll be the biggest project in Salem, of all time.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what it? Really?
I imagine so. I don't think there's much more than that.
Yeah, I guess biggest mixed use for sure.
Yeah. So and that's a really good example of this is how a city happens, right? So and shout out to the Truitts for shutting their business down, identifying this as a really difficult but amazing property. It's going to take years to develop, creating a mindset for it. And then a local kid, you know who the guy who actually first bought it, but the process of land and with development, right? So it was bought as raw land with no vision to it.
He put the vision to it.
He put the vision to it. I think he bought it 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I pulled it up one day when I was walking my dog around there, and I think he paid like $3 million for it or something like that. But the key thing that happened was they got approvals. They got approvals, like a master community approval. I don't think they have any true building concepts. There's definitely no building permits out there, but they got approval for demo. Approval for demo on industrial land on the river. That's huge. And then a 386 unit mixed use project. And part of the approval process you go through is, okay, well, what are you giving to the city in this aspect? You have this waterfront land. And so now you've got a 15-foot easement with a walking path. So the designs are amazing. It's something Salem has not seen.
So the new buyer who's going to take over, he's using the old plans, or are they modifying that?
Well, again, you just have their land use approvals. They're not building designs. It's a land use approval.
It's like entitlements.
I thought I saw originally on that it was going to cost like $400 a unit to build. And
it probably is.
It
probably is.
Well, there's a lot more going in than just the units.
Yeah. Oh. So they're supposed to close in May and then demo by October. So there's a couple entitlements. One expires this October. One expires October 2 years from now. My assumption is what expires in this October is the demo. So you have to buy it by May, get the demo done, and then you have 2 years to essentially get approval on building permits. And so I doubt they're breaking ground until 2029.
The new buyer says there's nothing financial standing in their path of moving forward.
Yeah, and again, the mindset. So when we talk about the wealth transfer, what we got into last night is the wealth transfer is less about money and it's more about mindset that owns equity and the mindset that owns capital as well. But the buyer's from New York, but the leader of that division of that New York firm is from Oregon.
From Oregon,
yeah. And I think he lives in Westland, probably in Stafford, in a nice big mansion.
Unnecessary.
And so that's just what we talked about was, hey, Salem has a lot of cool stuff happening. When you look at how Salem was designed, a historic downtown on the waterfront with historic grids of residential around it. You have 2 one-ways going south. You have 2 one-ways going north. You have a lot of river frontage. And projects are being dropped. Hunsaker Dental built a huge mixed-use building or an office building.
Looks really good.
On
really
commercial.
Nice. Yeah.
There's another three-unit apartment building just south of that. Yep. All those one-story commercial projects, a lot of them have been renovated by AJ and his investor team.
I was going to say, Hunsaker did that thing and it made everybody else we got to check our facade.
Yeah, and part of it is, so one other really cool thing is the old, I forget the name of the record store, but the old dude, the old hippie, like we saw him in high school. We would go visit this dude in high school and he died. Sad that he died, but the last space they occupied was this just 1950s, 1960s, one level that was ugly and not usable, and now it's an architecture firm.
Linity's in there.
Yeah, and it's sexy. Yeah. It is a really sexy building.
Where do they park? Is there parking?
There is a little bit of parking.
It seems like there's just like one little driveway.
It's one little strip. It's angled in, and then you enter off the road, angle in, and then you exit out the alley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It looks great though. That part of town has really come a long way.
I think we should write down the date. I think we should mark it. I think this is the first time that I've ever heard Mike just be absolutely in love with Salem.
I'm in love with Salem.
Okay, now. I have a question about that. Did it's
because he made some friends here.
Did Blackburn, AJ, and Nat have any influence on your excitement over Salem?
Walking into the Forge in January. So in January, I didn't know AJ was not Clutch. I did not know who Chris Blackburn was.
Okay.
And I didn't know Nat was part of the project either. And around that time, you guys had walked into the podcast studio and mentioned AJ and Chris Blackburn. And at that time, you guys shut down SRE. Alex and I were talking about bringing Investor Lab to Salem. And so I walked into the Forge and immediately felt the built environment. It's nothing, Salem doesn't have anything like it. You've got Ritters, you've got Archive, you have some really cool projects, but you don't have anything on that scale that has a regional feel, meaning like a Portland type feel, entrepreneurial feel. And for those that don't know the Forge, it's a 80,000 square foot building. They cut 18,000 square feet out of it to open it up, added a lot of steel, added staircases. On the main level, you now have Bonsai Coffee going in, you have a dumpling spot going in, you have a sheep's milk dairy place, you have a secondhand clothing store. On the third top floor, you have an advisory firm that I think is off of the Truett Brothers. And on the second floor, you have the Women's Collective. And so it's these little small spaces, a lot of beauty and salon, and then some lending and some financial stuff.
And AJ's restaurant.
Clink. And you feel it. And I'll even go back. So in the early 2000s, I lived a really interesting life. I was listening to Fox News Radio a lot. So I had a house in Gladstone was my appraisal office. I listened to Fox News Radio. I get there like 5 a.m, and then I had an anarchist that worked for me, and so it was an appraiser.
So contrast.
Yeah,
opinions.
exactly. And it was a really kind of shaping time in my life. And one thing that really sticks out was one day, one of those freaking conservative people were complaining about $50 million high school. Fast forward to, I read Willpower Doesn't Work, and I start to understand the importance of the environment. And now you start to contrast your past. Like in Salem, we grew up in these buildings that were built in the 50s and 60s, and they suck. And it's cold when it needs to be warm, and it's hot when it needs to be cold, and you can't think, and you're listening to fans and all that BS. But when we have a built environment that inspires you to go inside of it, you are immediately performing at a much higher level of your potential. And that's what you feel when you walk into the Forge. And so when I walked in there, I was like, okay, this is something I can really get behind. And then when I started thinking about, okay, bringing Investor Lab to Salem, what did we do well in Portland? What do I really like about Portland? I started recognizing Salem for more of what it was, right? So A, making friends, B, seeing how I could potentially fit in and how I could
make it better.
Yeah, exactly. Like where can because I have leadership skills and it's proven in Portland, but I've just been this dude that kind of hangs out and has been observing in Salem. Other than meeting you guys and doing the podcast,
Does this mean you're not going to move back to Portland, Mike?
I hope so.
We're going to keep you in Salem. They say once you're in Salem long enough, you'll never
city on
never
earth.
go back.
USA.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. And that experience was fun because, so I reach out to AJ, and we talk about this idea. He's like, yeah, I think we can get behind having it here. I also went into the basement that day and I saw the space. I was like, great, this has Investor Lab written all over it. Reached out to AJ, and then I found out who Chris was, and then I found out the way the dots connect. I didn't even after we scheduled it, I didn't know Nat was part of it. And then, I'll sidetrack. Anyways, getting to know Chris a little bit. So I took Chris out to lunch. Chris is doing a lot of cottage cluster stuff. Mm-hmm. Chris has a crazy vision. A really crazy vision of what Salem could be. He's really into AI. And I love the idea of just that mindset, which is he's not a real estate guy. He's a tech guy. Yeah. And he has a tech business that made a ton of money on the tech side. And he started storing that in real estate. And now he's just a real professional developer, right? So Clutch Industries, they're a general contractor, they're a developer. And a lot of it is on his vision. And so he's got ideas of cottage clusters for the hearing impaired, cottage clusters for blind people, cottage clusters for old people.
Wow.
And he understands what's happening. So like we talked about the cannery project, and immediately he starts talking about the retired assisted living that's going in across the river.
Yep.
And so now I kind of feel connected more to people that are really investing in the community. And then when you see Rite Aid turnover, and there's a Rite Aid at the north end of downtown, and that is the worst part of downtown. And this is something that I called out.
It's a dead block.
It's it's 2 dead blocks. Yeah. It's like 1,000 feet of.
Did that one trade when they auctioned off every Rite Aid?
Yeah, and it's going to be a Marquetta.
Yeah.
Is that the
that's
grocery
a
store?
Mexican grocery store, Trevor.
Yeah, and so think about
Trevor will love it.
Trevor,
one
you're gonna
thing
love
Salem really needs is more culture downtown, right? Most of the culture's in off Lancaster and east part of Salem. So bringing more culture to downtown, expanding what downtown can be, those 2 blocks are prime for it.
Yeah.
We
could throw 2 street taco trucks on that block so easy.
Yeah.
And just
I was driving down
Get
that
the
road
riffraff
today.
out of there.
Honestly, what Salem needs is they needed to, Salem will hate me for this, they need to take that 4-lane road and turn it down to 3. Slow down traffic, make it a walkable section of downtown. That will change
one?
downtown. Just from Salem Center to the Marion Parkade. Just of Liberty. Because you have brick walls. You don't have windows. You don't have doors.
How come you don't get into commercial development? Because you like development and you like this whole thing.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to is kind of it. For me, I never really trusted my vision. I trust other people and I know how to recognize talent and I've followed talent and kind of, I was thinking about this yesterday. One of my favorite songs growing up was Too Short, Get In Where You Fit In. That's where I've been in life.
Too.
Can you sing it for me?
Not now but it's a great song.
I want to be a baller. Oh, that's a different
That was
song.
a good song too. So I'm an observer. That's my specialty is observe, and then I identify where I can get in and where I do fit in. So I think it's trending.
You can buy a
towards
bunch of
commercial.
downtown buildings, dude.
I bet you could just have them.
Well,
I bet you could just have a bunch of downtown buildings. Have you
We'll
asked
sell you a
anybody?
couple right now.
Maybe I should.
Yeah.
But we talked about, so Forge is a big, and what Forge did is they cut in access to the sidewalk, right? Like I had a photo of the building beforehand, and the first thing I said, this is some ugly 1980s bullshit. Like this is terrible. It's a terrible facade. You have one access point to the street, and they, the Bonsai Coffee, they've got a door to the street.
It does look way better.
Significantly better. And it was 2 doors, 2 foyers, and black paint.
Yeah.
Completely changed what that
the whole
building is.
dynamic. Yeah.
And then they also did some roll-up garage doors, and the way that they have the sheep's milk ice cream shop, that's really cool.
Yeah.
The way it opens to the main foyer, the way that it opens to the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're talking about doing a market, a farmer's market type thing in there. It's cool, and it changes Portland.
Dude, that's funny you say that because literally yesterday I was at the parking garage, like the bottom level of it, and these 2 girls were going to the mall, and they were like, "Where's the mall?" And I was like, it's right. I pointed because you could just see it. But
There's
like
only
you
one way to get in.
that, like, it's like a tan stucco facade with like just the big Salem Center, and like it's just 50 or it's so old. Like
Correct.
That's just not how it should look now. It's so closed off. Like
that's the
you wouldn't
problem.
know.
That's the problem, and that's why I say if you take those 4 lanes and you turn them to 3, and now you make that section of town more walkable, and you take those buildings and you open them up to the community. That's what will change downtown. And so I mentioned the Nordstrom's project is a great example of just terrible design. Nordstrom's was torn down. Great to at least get rid of that part, which is just more brick facade and no windows. But the apartment complex that was built is an apartment complex. There's no mixed use component to it. Outside of the common area they have on the corner and some windows for the residential units.
Bottom floor. I was surprised the city
weird.
didn't do.
No.
You would think they'd
Super
require
weird.
retail on the bottom floor, but
No
they didn't.
storefront. And that's where Salem misses it is, you have a zoning code, but you also have plan districts. And this is what Portland does really well, which is in certain parts of town, they have special plan districts, right? Like zoning is one thing, but zoning is a big blanket over the entire city. You need to have neighborhoods that have different soul to them. And so plan districts are a way to do that. And so I mentioned Nordstrom's of like, that's just kudos to the local family who bought the design and built it, because we do need housing downtown, but it missed what it could be. On the other end, you've had a hole in downtown, like a 20-foot deep hole in downtown that takes up almost an entire block.
They're building that up.
Yep, right across from the mall. But now that's 3/1 podium. That's a really tall concrete structure. I have no clue what's going to be built, but it will be retail with residential above it.
Yeah.
And so you combine with Forge on one corner. Now you have Deacon Developments doing that mixed use project. That puts a ton of pressure on Salem Center. And I think that's when Patrick Kearney got up and walked out because I started talking so much shit. But the other part of it, and this gets into the mindset of the wealth transfer, is JCPenney's. One thing that we really talked about, and AJ went off on Pioneer Trust last night, went off on them. We'll talk about that, which is the mindset around equity. The building owners that have owned these buildings for 30, 40 years grew up a different period of time. They grew up with a different idea around risk. They grew up with a different idea of around hoarding and what you do with wealth. They grew up just significantly different. And one thing I meant, and I don't want to talk negative about these people because I understand where their mindset is. And one thing I mentioned last night is, when you have a fully positioned portfolio, that's a beautiful thing. We work decades to get to a seasoned portfolio that now actually provides what we want, right? You can buy a crap ton of real estate and 5 years in have nothing to show for it other than some equity and maybe a little bit of cash flow. But when you're 15, 20 years in,
I can confirm that.
Yeah, the portfolio seasoned, now you have cash flow, you have lifestyle, your life is set. And so why would someone want to mess with that? But the downside of it is you get buildings like JCPenney, where it's vacant. It's on a really extremely important corner in downtown Portland. It looks like
Salem.
shit.
Do you know what you
Salem.
should do?
Yeah.
That building on Front Street that AJ and Chris own that are looking for a JV partner on to renovate.
I didn't even know that the one
Right by the park.
across from the park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's your first project, Mike.
Maybe. I did.
The
I
old
took,
Margaret Furlong building, the old
Right
brick
next to
one.
the bakery, yeah.
they had
Yellow
some
one
pods
with
in
the
there at one
garage
point.
inside.
Yellow one
Yeah.
with the green.
Yeah. Dude, that is going to be like, the problem is you need that building for free because it's going to cost so much to renovate.
That is
Well, good thing it's a
literally what I
JV.
said when I walked by it yesterday.
Yeah.
And even then,
and that's why downtowns don't change.
Yeah.
Is because it's a slumlord mindset, and a slumlord mindset has a shelf life. And at the end of that shelf life is now your building isn't worth anything because you're not getting any income. The only purchaser is going to be a developer, and they're looking at the end product that cost millions of dollars to get there, and what the residual plug land value they can pay is very, very low.
So tell me why we're talking about wealth transfer. You're talking about people who have owned these buildings a long time. They've got a lot of equity sitting there. Now they're at a stage in life where they really don't have to work that equity as hard. And so they're not willing to take the risk of what they've built and losing what they've built in order to make the community better, because that now falls on their back.
Correct.
So the wealth transfer is, you're saying that the next generation needs to come in, take these buildings, and then bring in the risk, bring in the cash, and reinvest into downtown.
Absolutely.
So a new generation has to come.
Correct. And so JCPenney's is a really good example. AJ's in their ear now, but Maury's putting pressure on the grandson because he understands our generation. And I mention this a lot in the cottage clusters because we get pushback a lot for developing cottage clusters. And my response is, you've already made your equity, homeowner. You've already gotten all the appreciation, and I'm really not concerned about your opinion because we're not building for a generation 100 years ago. We're building for generations 20, 30, 40 years down the road. They will live differently. They think differently. They act differently. The technology they have. And if your mindset is, I don't want anyone overlooking my backyard, I'm sorry, go get a new backyard because you're going to be dead in 20 years. And we can't live life based off of people's mindset who are going to be dead in 20 years. We need to be developing for people that aren't even alive yet and what they're going to be thinking and doing. And so I don't think the wealth transfer is about money. I think the wealth transfer is about equity and mindset. And once the mindset changes that controls that equity, communities and cities follow.
Yeah, what you're talking about, in my understanding, is sort of like stagnation. Like or is that the right word? Like it's stagnant.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
The equity is there, but it's stagnant. It's
Yes.
not being put to work for them or the community because they're just comfortable with where they're at, and it needs to pass along. So did you guys talk about this last night? Was there some ideas around how we make that happen?
Yeah, AJ has a really cool idea, which is 30 to 40 entrepreneurs creating a collective and all putting in like, $500 a month for 6 months and putting that into AI prompt engineers. And so making it a networking group, a club, a membership, so to speak. First, you put the money into the AI engineers, prompt engineers. You create technology that then can now make that group pay for itself. And then once that group, and even in kind of some concepts he talked about is AI and homeless. So you build pods for AI, you build pods for homeless people that have AI inside of it and a camera. And part of the component of being able to live in this pod for free is you have to have AI counseling. It's not counseling, but for 3 times a day, 1 hour, 3 times a day. You need to be talking to AI about this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm struggling with. This is what I'm feeling right now. This is what I need assistance in. And now think of it. If you have 100 homeless people living in 100 pods and you have Claude taking hundreds and hundreds of hours of note taking, and AI can think through that in a way that we cannot think through and process that. You now can, and think about, so what cities do, they do these point in time counts of homeless people. And it's a week long process. They walk around and they interview all the homeless people and they get this point in time count. It's always delayed data. It's nothing that you can do value with. But if you get all of the homeless people registered into a program and cops can walk around with an AI app, and now you immediately get feedback. This is what this person suffers from. This is what the things that they go through. Now we have the data at the tip of our finger, at our fingertips that we can then use to actually help the community. And so, like, that's kind of a mindset shift. And a lot of people don't want to invest in downtown. Why? Because they are afraid of homeless. And a lot of people don't want to come to downtown because of the rumor is that we're not safe. So how do you make downtown feel safe? How do you change the built environment? Changing the built environment is part of it. So yeah, it was.
The first time you weren't in Salem yet when this happened, but Doug Doty bought where Ritter's is an archive. They bought that building from one of our brokers, actually. McGilchrist Roth building.
That one.
And it took them several years and millions of dollars in order to change it. But it was interesting to see downtown at that point in time, like literally you could walk out in the middle of the street and lay down and not worry about getting ran over. Like there was nothing happening downtown. And they built out that corner, and just to see 2 buildings, which are adjacent, it's basically one building, but they did something really cool. And to have the apartments above, really nice ones, and to have the candy shop and the coffee shop and the restaurant or whatever, it brought this whole new energy, like you're talking about, environments that people want to be in. Like you may not even go there because you like the coffee or you like the food. You just like being there because it's a cool place to be. And that changed everything downtown. Just that one little corner of downtown, to me, it sort of sparked new life into downtown and made people realize you could do something like the Forge. And if we do that one by one, you can transform the whole city.
That's exactly it.
So talk a little bit about, when you're talking about wealth transfer, you're talking about in a microcosm in Salem. I always wondered, like, I'd see these commercial buildings and it's like, this thing is for lease and it sits there for 2 years and nobody's leasing the space. And it's like, why don't you just lower the rent? Well, I was naive. It's like, well, you can't lower the rent because the second you lower the rent or you don't have the right escalators or whatever, number one, your rent roll goes down and now your value goes down and now you don't meet loan covenants and all these other things. It's almost like the bank would rather have it be vacant than you rent to the wrong lease and tie somebody in there for 10 years at the wrong rate. So that's one problem. Problem number 2 is that tenant that wants to move in now needs a $500,000 TI, and that tenant doesn't have $500,000. So even if you're going to bake that into their lease and amortize it for them, you still have to come up with the cash. And so there's this sort of, when you talk about the stagnating capital around how do we push that, how do we turn that equity into working capital downtown? And it's a hard problem to solve because who's going to put up the risk to take on a tenant and dump that kind of money into a building on a tenant that 3 years from now might be out of business?
Dude, okay. So right now, Portland City Council is talking about a vacancy tax in downtown Portland.
That is
Dude,
hilarious.
I saw that. I was like, how bad would that be? You can't fill your units, and now you have to pay more.
So now let's put context into this. I agree it's bad. on its face value. But if you think things through and you create custom ideas, what was really good about 2008, and I'm going to bring up Portland through this, is...
Can I really quick?
Yeah.
Did you guys read the article about it, though?
No, I just saw very
The
brief.
headline is bad.
Yeah.
The article honestly did kind of make sense. Like a little bit of it, I was like, okay, like I hate it as me, but I kind of see what you're saying, so go.
The context I want to add to it is the beautiful deleveraging. This is something Ray Dalio talks about, is a beautiful deleveraging. We didn't see that in 2008 and 2009, but we saw a crash and it was the ultimate deleveraging. And that's what is problematic right now, is we've had a sales volume crash and there's been no deleveraging. So the basis is just way too high. And so let's go to downtown Portland. It's deleveraging right now. All of the new acquisitions is local money getting huge 60-70% devaluations from institutional capital. That's a change of equity. That's a new leverage basis. And so now if you put in this vacancy tax, so go to us. We were going to buy that building. We were going to rip it for $5 million. That gave us the ability to, our plan was give away the retail on the main level. Here's a free place for you to be for 5 years. And we could work that into our pro forma to activate the main level, to activate the space, entice more tenants to come in. And so if you can deleverage, now you're not concerned about the lending. You're not concerned about giving free rent or lowering your rent for one floor of your 10-story building. And so there's a solution there where combining deleveraging with some level of regulation to then create something beautiful.
But what about the vacancy tax thing?
Well, so think about it. So if you just bought a building for pennies on the dollars, now you are subject to a vacancy tax.
Yeah.
You got the discount.
Yeah.
You've brought the capital in.
Fill it up.
Fill it up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it only applies to those people then?
Yeah. So
if it's recently transferred.
Yeah, and now we can go to Big Pink. So the guy who bought Big Pink, he
just bought another one, too.
He just bought another one. This is what I'm talking
He's
about.
a monster.
And he has a great freaking vision. So right now,
What's his name?
Swickard.
Yeah, he's a car guy. He has a bunch of car
Those
lots
car
in
guys.
Portland. I know, this freaking car guy is playing in real estate.
They're pretty good at it.
Smart guys.
They're pretty good at it.
So that traded at $370 million. He bought it for $45 million. He's actually getting $50 a square foot in some of the new leases. He's putting in significant
$50 a square foot.
There's still a lot
rent?
of vacancy, but it is and AJ talked about this in Salem, is entertainment. You need regional capital to bring in entertainment. They wanted to bring entertainment into the Forge. That's the vision of Big Pink, golf simulators. So they're
Chicken and pickle. We need one
Pickleball,
so bad. We need a chicken and pickle so bad.
Yeah, but
I
now-
saw one of those things the other day. It was a Tuesday afternoon
Packed.
in Dallas, Texas, and the thing is like kind of not in the middle of anywhere. Like it's just, and the parking lot was packed. It was so full. It was so full. Sunny outside. Plenty of reasons to be outside. Beer inside. Chicken and pickling.
Dude, I had an experience like that in Austin. At a Go Abundance, we rented out the entire thing, and then after the championship game, they
For
came
chicken
in-
and pickle?
It wasn't chicken and pickle,
but
it was
like a
similar
pickleball thing?
Yeah, pickleball
Yeah.
thing, and then they just dumped all these pickleballs all over the floor, and we had a chant. It was really fun.
People love that stuff.
But go back to Big Pink. It was executive office space with a really cool restaurant on the top floor. Now you mix entertainment. You have it with the deleveraging. You can turn it into a true mixed use type concept. The other thing they're doing is they're putting on a rooftop deck, a rooftop bar on the tallest building in Portland. No, at a $373 million basis, you're not changing what that building is and what it is to the
But
community.
$45 million, you got options and ideas.
Tell you what, you got a little budget in there.
You got a little budget. You got
Yeah,
some room.
there's some room for bud.
And this is a 500-foot tall building. You know, Portland City Grill inside it's known for its amazing views. Go another 20 feet on top of that and be outside.
You're not even going to go to Portland City Grill.
It'll be reservation only, and you will probably have to pay for your reservations.
Yeah.
That level of coolness.
For the bar on the top floor, you mean?
Yeah.
That'll be sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of be windy, maybe. Maybe a little rainy.
It's Portland.
Who knows?
Deal with it.
Might do a little awning. Maybe an awning up there. Who knows?
Yeah, Mike, you should do these deals.
I was thinking about that on the note of like the Big Pink and like living downtown. And there's the idea that like I don't know how urbanized Salem's even ever going to get. It seems like we're every big city or every city that continues to grow moves that direction generally. But there's some cities that still grow out more than they grow up. And I'm a little bit into that. I won't lie to you, but if you're gonna be the city that grows up and you've got like the Big Pink type buildings, I mean, a lot of those places now, at least, you could live your entire life inside the 3-block radius that is like surrounding your apartment building, and half of it is in your apartment building. And so it's like we've got 3 restaurants. We have a little grocery store on like some random floor of it. And then you've got for sure a huge gym. And then just this like list of, it's like, what are the 5 things that everybody needs all the time? And you're filling an apartment building with that, which is why you don't like the project downtown in Salem, because it's the wrong direction.
Yes.
Correct. Rivenwood. Like, and at the time, granted, like when those plans were going through, it was 21. Mm-hmm. Like everything was vacant. The only thing you needed was housing. Like people were, and so hindsight's 2020.
And like, that's your pro forma.
That's the part of the plan, though. Is like the city has to be like, hey, this makes sense right now, but
that's why you have to have
probably
a
going to be
plan
weird
district.
when you're walking downtown and you look in and see somebody hopping out of the shower.
Yeah,
like,
and that
probably
again
shouldn't be there.
That's the mindset. Are you going to let your pro forma dictate what you build? Or are you going to build what the community needs? And what you talked about is the concept of a 24-hour neighborhood, or a concept of an 18-hour neighborhood. Duh. So the reason that the cities that grow up, typically, what do they have? They already have a historic component. They already have a zoning that says this is where development's going to go. Mm-hmm. In the concept of an H, so the first one, after we booked the Forge for the first Investor Lab meeting, the first social media post I did was on the concept of an 18-hour neighborhood. Downtown Salem is dead on a Tuesday night. It's kind of dead on a Friday night.
Whoa.
So a 24-hour city like New York or LA, it just never stops, right? There's always people working 24 hours a day. A 12-hour city is a city that goes from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. 18-hour city is a city that goes from 6 to midnight, or 8 to 2. And so that's what Salem is lacking, an 18-hour environment downtown. And it's the projects like the Forge, redoing the Salem Center, bringing in the mixed use.
What's open at 2 a.m. though? Just bars and strip clubs. Is that what you want downtown?
Comedy clubs, magic shows.
So, I actually had one of my friends give me a very mean capitalistic message when I made that post. No, it's not just that. It's you have enough people. Like,
wait, aren't you a capitalist?
Let's go back to tribes. Back when people were just nomads living in tribes, you had different types of people. You had people that were morning people that went to bed early, and you had people that stayed up late and protected you throughout the night. We are all wired differently. Some people work better at night. Some people work better the day.
I think you're a night guy.
No, definitely not.
Oh, shoot.
And when your city is vibrant, that means you have more culture, you have more personalities, you have more DNA, and that's what actually creates that.
I love AJ. He talked about this when he was on our podcast. I love the idea of, instead of focusing on how do we limit bless you.
Wow.
How do we limit instead of talking about the negative, like how do we get rid of homeless? How do we stop crime and all that? That is an important piece, but he wants to focus on the piece of how do we bring more positive, to where it sort of, the more positive that you get, the more that negative starts to dissipate. Mm-hmm. And I think that we just haven't had enough positive energy downtown to offset it. And you just have this reputational damage where it's like, I always talk about my 82-year-old mother, where she says, like, we don't have a downtown Salem. It's gone. I'm like, really? I was just there a couple hours ago. It's still there. Well, there's no Nordstrom, and there's no Macy's, and there's no JCPenney. And it's like, if that's what you thought, like in her mind, that was downtown, and now it's gone. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now you just go downtown and there's homeless people. Like, that's the perception. And maybe that's extreme or skewed towards a much older demographic, but I go downtown and there are people downtown, and there are things going on, and it's really not as bad as it was. I don't think. I feel like
it's great now.
I feel like we're starting to see more positive things happening, and it's starting to drown out some of the negative things. And I think that if we continue on that path and can get some momentum there, but like you're saying, it's going to take that wealth transfer.
It's a branding exercise. You got to bring people downtown. And I'll even my experience at Creekside Golf Club is a really good example of it. When I joined there in 24, that first year was awesome. But the longer that I was there, so I fit in pretty well. And then last year I was less of a fit in. I was more of an outlier. And part of that aspect is I'm golfing with people and they're 50 years. It's not your 82-year-old mother. It's 40, 50-year-old dudes like, you can't go downtown. Downtown isn't safe. You got to do this. And I'm like, you're weak human beings with weak minds, because it really isn't that.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
Yeah, and so I now didn't fit in as much because I'm not a guy to stay silent on my opinions.
Really?
Yeah, especially when people are talking bullshit, right? So
You shouted them out on Facebook after they talked to you.
Hey, Tom from Creekside, you got dumb opinions.
I do refrain. I've made so many videos on that. I can't believe someone paid $1.1 million for this house on a 3,000 square foot corner lot that has this 90 design with 1990 stone. And then they hired a designer who put board and bat siding. Like the designer did great. She's like, you have this shitty stone, so I'm going to pick this shitty roof. So this shitty roof matches the shitty stone. And then we're going to try and wash it out with board and bat siding, black windows, and white paint. And someone paid 1 million, and then 2 lots over, they're doing almost the exact same thing. But the thing that's almost the exact same thing just has a little tiny tweaks. It has some shitty stone, but it isn't as bad. Instead of having a white ceiling on your covered patio, it's wood. Just tiny little
I saw them build a house there a few years ago. I was watching it go up, and I'm like, what are they doing? Like, they built a 90s house.
That's what I'm talking about.
In 2022. And I'm like, what?
And it sold for $1 million.
What's the audience here? It's like, I don't even know. I haven't seen a house like that be built for 30 years, and you're going to build a brand new house that looks like that?
My joke was, it's the builder who is retired, coming out of retirement, and he had a bunch of stone in his garage.
And old plans.
And my joke was, he's like, I'm coming out, I've got this lot, we're going to use this stone. And then the wife's like, yeah, but you at least have to hire a designer. And then the designer got stuck in this thing, and she's like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Mike, you should do some retail deals.
I might. I mean, once I get past the care facility.
How do you fix the Salem Center Mall?
Oh, that's tough. It's really tough because you only have openings in the corners. And then you got
to open the building up.
So like the restaurant on the left as you walk in, it used to be that Mexican place. Oh my gosh, my friend worked there, was so good. But that restaurant needs to open to the outside. It can't be 3/4 of it just walled off brick wall. You need to cut openings, put in a roll up garage door, make that accessible. Because right now it's open to the outside, but it's open to the entrance.
Yeah.
If you actually close the side that's open to the entrance and open up the side that's open to the street, completely different complex.
Well, we talk about Willamette Town Center, which we used to call Lancaster Mall.
Yeah.
And they did a wonderful job. They came in and they turned that mall inside out, and you go by there any day of the week and there's people there. There's always people there. And it was dead. You walk into the mall and there's nobody there. It was a ghost town. They turn it inside out. They get the right tenants in. It all makes sense. You can't really do that in downtown Salem with Salem Center, but you can sort of turn the mall inside out to an extent.
And it's just a few changes on the main level. That's all it takes. But that'll take capital, and it'll take brand new tenants, and it's not an easy task. But I do love the fact that Patrick Kearney and his investors own it. Carney.
It's okay.
Patrick's a great guy, by the way.
I love that
great guy.
Shout out. Even though Mike's talking shit, we love you, Patrick.
Yeah.
I'm not talking shit about Patrick.
I love
I got to meet Patrick when Brandon spoke. But I read the article when he bought the building, and there is a vision behind it. And I haven't been able to speak with him. I didn't know it was Patrick, but I'm sure they have a vision. And what was discussed in the article, maybe they're just waiting for the Forge to finish. And then once Deacon's done with the other project, now they can go put money.
I think it gives them a lot of tailwind in terms of their motivation and vision for what they're doing. When they see the Forge go in, they see this cannery project happening. Like sometimes when you feel like you're the only one that's going to like, I'm going to go try to change Salem. It's like, that's a daunting task. But when you see money flowing in and you see other people trying to do it, and then you see them be successful doing it, it's like what you're saying. It's like now this sets a milestone to where people will look at that, and maybe the cannery project wouldn't even have happened if it weren't for the Forge. You know what I'm saying? Because you start to get that momentum of other people in the community see something here, and they're investing and taking a lot of risk to try to change downtown Salem. And then that points to, hey, this is not dead. This isn't a cycle where it's going to come back to life. So you had the local people have to start, though. It starts with us. And then we draw the attention of the regional, national players that want to come in and play in that space. The problem is we keep looking at, like, how do we change downtown? We go, well, we got to go find the national player to come in, and they're not ready to come until the local and regional players make it bring it up to a point where the national players will.
So the other problem is, how do you make money on those buildings?
You have to scrape the risk out for that money. But so the bigger piles of capital will take a lower return once you've removed the risk.
You also, there's a level of like static friction that you have to get over the threshold of now it works, and you can't just do it with like one retail space.
Correct.
Like there's the level of friction of when everything's at a standstill to just get it moving again. It's like it has to be something big to like push it in the right direction.
Correct.
Like there's not, because to your point, if you're like, well, I'm just going to do it like one shop at a time. It's like, no, you're not.
No.
You're going to run out of money.
A
That's
few
what you're
episodes
gonna do.
ago, Dane and Mike were arguing about, is development speculative? The type of development we're doing,
Can
to
I
Dane's
clarify?
point, is far less speculative than this development. This is speculative because you're coming up with a vision. You don't have trailing data to go back on until enough people have come along and shown you it can be done.
Yeah.
Now that the Forge goes in or Cannery project goes in, it becomes less speculative with each one of those projects. But this is like, we're going to create a vision that hasn't been done before because we've seen it happen in another community. We know it will work, but it hasn't happened in Salem, which is why it's like that there's a disconnect between your local players who are willing and able, maybe not able, but they have the vision, they have the drive, maybe they don't have the capital to execute their vision, and they want to take the risk, but they don't have the gears to take all of the risk. And so then that's what I'm trying to do the math in my head is how much of that has to happen before the people with gears actually come in and go, we can see where this is going and we want to implement our vision.
That's the lack of collaborative mindset. And I think that's why AJ really went off on Pioneer Trust last night.
Why did he go off on
Now,
it?
let me unpack it. So
Please.
AJ mentioned this on the podcast as well as last night. 72% of the leases last year were in downtown were in the Forge. That pisses off everyone else. But do you know what's funny about it? They're also signing leases at the highest rate downtown scene. And so as a competitor of that who has an old, rusty, dusty building, and now your tenant's leaving to go pay more money somewhere else, that creates, again, it's a different generation with a different level of mindset. Now let's go to Pioneer Trust. So AJ, he made it very clear he loves Pioneer Trust. What he does not like about Pioneer, because Pioneer Trust has invested a lot of money in the city of Salem or made a lot of loans. What he doesn't like is their trust department, the people that they are managing money for. Let's go into this aspect. So you mentioned the building owner where they own one building and it is enough to change downtown. They don't have the liquidity. They don't have the capital to renovate that one building. It won't be impactful for them. It's a huge risk for them. What if Pioneer Trust went to the people that had more liquidity and said, let's create a fund, and this is going to be storefront loans to all these other building owners that bank at Pioneer Trust as well. So now you're just accumulating capital for this special purpose for everyone that banks at Pioneer Trust to then revitalize downtown, right? Just simple ideas like that. But in order to do that, you have to have a collaborative mindset instead of a competitive mindset, which is, well, why would we give a loan to someone who owns another building in downtown? Because your building will be worth more after that building's renovated and proves another rent capability. Because I asked the question, what's Salem's most underutilized asset? And AJ gave it's people. It's what we just talked about. People coming downtown.
Talk about Paul Curley a little bit. So Paul bought a bunch of buildings downtown. Paul didn't have the same visionary aspect of like a Blackburn or AJ, but he wanted to own buildings downtown. His instinct told him, and he was always one that loved to spend money on his buildings. So this is an opposite mindset of a lot of people who currently own. And he was older generation, but he was willing to invest a lot of capital. And he knew it's like, I want to own buildings downtown. It's very simple. But now I own these buildings and I got to fill them. Well, the only way I can fill them is to spend money. And so rather than like, I'm just going to let my building sit there, he's like, I got to do something. And so he started investing into the buildings, making them better. When the Forge went up, like every single week we'd walk by the Forge and Paul's like, he was shaking in his boots. He's like, I'm going to lose a bunch of tenants. He had a nice building. He'd spent money on it, whatever, but it's still two different kinds of buildings. Like he couldn't just completely reprogram his building next door. And I'm like, yeah, but if you just wait a little bit,
Correct.
they're gonna fill that building up, and then ultimately it's like all boats are gonna rise. They're gonna start getting a higher rent. They're gonna attract a certain tenant base, and then other people are gonna want to come down, and you're gonna fill your building up. Unfortunately, he didn't live long enough to see that, but that's what's gonna happen. Is the other buildings, at least now, it's gonna go from your A building to your B buildings will start to fill up, and then further and further, because downtown hopefully will attract more businesses and more people.
It's the rising tide.
So are you going to do this or what, Mike?
I don't know. I
really
mean,
tired.
Shout out to Kelsey. She's got a building in Escrow that's downtown.
Really?
And a really cool idea for it. Kelsey LPJ, I hope I didn't break any secrets there. We won't talk about the building or the deal or anything.
That's
but
baller.
Absolutely, right? So
That makes sense. That's why she was texting me about that.
Okay. Yeah.
I love Kelsey.
She's a killer.
She's doing so good.
She reprogrammed my brain the last 2 days. I met her for coffee on Friday.
Really?
And I just dropped a bunch of negative bullshit on her plate. And last night
Don't do
she's
that.
like, I was thinking about you. Like, you need to remember who the fuck you are. That's what she told me. I was like, damn right. I am somebody. It shouldn't be negative.
You
Nelly.
needed a little validation.
I needed a little validation.
I mean, it seems to me like you love this design aspect and thinking about it, and you noted the development code and all this stuff. You'll want to do bigger deals also.
I think we're unpacking something that, because I don't feel like I can be impactful in Portland in this asset class and this type of stuff.
So you should do it in Salem.
That's, I think, is kind of, I'm wrapping
can
my
we
brain
help you?
around. I don't know. This is
We'll
all
talk
new to
about
me.
it off air.
This is all
Dude,
new
you
to
could
me.
buy a bunch of buildings. I don't know if any of them will make sense, but you could buy them.
He's not looking for him to make sense. He has a
That's
vision.
why I think
he
it's
has
perfect.
a dream. Mike's
Yeah.
a dreamer.
Yeah, dude. I'll go bankrupt making Salem better.
I mean, you kind of need a little bit of that.
You have to have that mindset.
You got to have
Yeah.
people that are not fully just looking at the pro forma and going like, in the long term, this will work out. And maybe for the first 5 years, we'll look at it and go, this probably wasn't a great decision, but made Salem better in the long run.
See,
Salem
clarity,
got better.
though, great monetary decision. I think that's very important when you think about decision-making processes. Because that's why you can't have pro forma guy making all the decisions. If you look at it 5 years from now and the downtown Salem is what you wanted it to be, and you didn't make as much money as you thought you were going to make, it's like, well, I knew I wasn't doing it to make a bunch of money. So it wasn't the best monetary. Yeah, I know you would be,
right.
Trevor. Understand that you would be.
This is the guy that builds all residential in a great corner of downtown.
We'll do some more Woody Walk Up. We'll do some more
Woody
Woody
Walk
Walk
Up.
Up. I promise.
Here's a
We've
fun
got
fact
lots
for
of
you.
it coming.
When Deacon built Rivenwood, they called me the day before they closed, and they're like, Gabe, we want you to tell us we can fill this thing up, or we don't want to. I don't know. They were like thinking, should we buy it? Should we not buy it and do this project? And I made 2 comments. I said, number one is parking. I don't think downtown Salem is ready for tenants who don't have a car. Number 2 is we have to have grocery downtown. Now, having a Marquetta, that's one step in the right direction, but we need a market of choice. We need a Sprouts or a Whole Foods or something. We need something downtown for the people that live downtown. And there's always been this chicken or the egg conversation. It's like, we don't have enough people downtown to have a grocery store. And it's like vice versa. The people don't want to live downtown because there's no grocery store. You don't go to the grocery store, Dane? Is that why you're raising your hand?
No, I was
you
raising
go
my
eat burritos.
I was raising my hand
Because he moved downtown.
Because the exact it's here's the thing is you got to do it where you hit all the West Salem traffic.
Yeah.
Because West Salem doesn't have a Trader Joe's, and West Salem doesn't have the natural grocers. West Salem doesn't have the co-op sitting down there. So
They have Roths.
All they have is Roths. It's like, but everybody wants a granola grocery store in West Salem. I guarantee it. So just hit them on their way home. They can't get back over there anyways without passing it.
Think if you took the Marion Parkade, that parking lot, what if you put the parking underground, put a grocery store on top, a market of choice on top of an underground parking lot, and residential above?
Well, and you go down, I don't know what street it is, somewhere in Portland, you go to the market of choice and you park on the roof.
Yep.
I mean, there's ways to do it, but trying to attract that, we've been trying for decades to get.
That's one component of the cannery project. Is it's 380 units. It has over 200 parking spots. It's mechanized parking.
Mechanized?
Mechanized parking.
What is that?
The Carvana parking?
Yeah,
You park
robots
and
are
a robot lifts your car up?
Yeah. So there's a lot of ways to do it. You can just leave the car and a robot moves it. There's some projects in Portland where you drive in and then it just moves your car on a platform for you, and then you park it, like no one takes over. There's ways to do mechanized, and I don't know what the vision is for the cannery, but if we're talking about mechanized parking on the waterfront in Salem, that's different. That's a conversation we've never had.
I've never even heard of mechanized parking.
So you mentioned, Deacon's doing the new 3/1 podium, and they did the Rivenwood, which was Nordstrom's. That's the local developer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I thought they were a construction company.
They're both.
Okay.
They're developer builder.
Yeah.
And so, so they bought
They're huge.
correct.
Big company.
So they bought a pre-plan and built all apartments where Nordstrom was, but then now they're filling that hole in the ground with an actual mixed-use building.
Where Saffron, you're talking about where Saffron was?
I don't know what it was. It's just south of Salem
Over by
Center.
the bridge?
It's west of the bus station,
Right
just across from
Salem Center.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the one that
Next to
hasn't
Chronic
gone up. Has
Tacos.
not gone up yet.
It's gone up.
No, it's
The one that's going up right now is
That's I guess
like
one block.
That's like
east or
VA
one.
housing or something.
Is that what's going up?
Yeah,
Really? With a concrete podium?
yeah.
What are they putting in the concrete? It's going to be retail.
Oh, there'd be retail on the bottom floor, I think.
Right.
Yeah,
And then it's VA housing above.
I think so.
So
yeah.
they got some type of public funding then to build that.
Yeah, and I mean I guess we're already answering the question. We talk about regional money. I would call Deacon regional money. Like when they're coming in and they're like, we're going to build these things up. Like Rivenwood, it's still not all the way full, but they're big enough to where they can have a multi-year absorption phase. They don't have to fill the thing in 3 months. And so even with not absorbing that fully, they're already breaking ground on the next one or two that they're going to build. Like they're bullish on downtown Salem. And I think a lot of players are. When you read the article about the guy coming in from the cannery, it wasn't just because he came from the Oregon market. They've identified Salem as like one of the best emerging markets to go into for this type of development. That says a lot because we're here. I was always taught that you'll make more money out of town than you will in your hometown. And I think that the psychology is that you're out playing golf with Tom and he's telling you downtown sucks. And you're like, dude, I'm from Portland. I just got here a couple years ago. Downtown doesn't suck the way you think it sucks.
Correct.
Like, yes, there are some things that need to be fixed, but there's a lot of opportunity. And so you can see that opportunity much more objectively when you come into another market. It's one of the reasons why we do so much stuff on the North Coast. We're not from the North Coast. The people that live up there are like, oh, it rains all the time and you can't fill any vacancy in the winter. And like, it's a small little town. And what do you do? And we get there and we're like, oh, you fill units and you get $300 more rent than you get in the valley. Like, we're going to go to the North Coast.
When I was thinking about how my early introduction production was going to be, I was going to mention you guys as regional money coming into the coast. And there's a lot of regional money in downtown Salem, Coast Development. They've got a big project going in after one that they've already completed.
Do they really? Coast?
Yeah, it's on 14th.
Oh, very cool.
And you have the Hoffman, that's Portland money, TMT Development. So we have regional money here. It got stagnant for a bit, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And then
everything got stagnant.
Everything got stagnant.
Yeah.
So, and I even mentioned, so I had someone reach out again after I made that post about the 18-hour city, as someone, saying some negative things in a private message. And my response was, if I had not left Salem, I would have the exact same thought process. But because I left and spent 29 years in a different community, I came back and see it significantly.
Different lens.
100% different lens.
All roads lead back to Salem.
So we need you to have more confidence in yourself, Mike. That
Yeah.
you are a visionary and you don't have to lean on other people's ideas. You need to help us come up with these ideas.
I appreciate that. Maybe I will.
Mike is going to be the visionary. He's going to join this club of people. You're going to be one of those entrepreneurs paying $500 a month.
You know what was really cool? I took Chris Blackburn out to lunch, and he talked about, and I dodged the topic, but he's like, I want to partner with you on a cottage cluster project. And that kind of threw me off. And the project that he brought up on his phone, it was on my paper route when I was 12.
You gonna do it?
You have to do it.
I feel like that's.
Can you get Chris to come on the podcast?
Yes.
He told me he was coming on, and then we never got him on the calendar.
Yeah, I'll make sure.
Now that you're besties, we need you to get him on.
Yeah,
that's going to be a mind blowing episode when Blackburn
with Chris.
comes on.
We're not. I don't even know if we'll say a word. It's going to be a Chris Blackburn visionary monologue.
We're going to have to lead Claude on the whole time to just.
Oh my goodness! Disseminate the information.
Translate what he's telling us right now.
That guy posts stuff on LinkedIn every day that I'm just like, man.
Oh, no. He doesn't. His chat bot does.
Oh, yeah. I understand. He's the one who clicks enter and throws it on. But man, alive.
He sends me messages. And I'm like, well, I don't even know how to respond.
He's thinking on a whole different level. Oh, yeah.
He dropped that last night. I believe in Bigfoot.
I love it.
Yeah. I asked him when he's going to get political and I sent him a message today saying, when you left, we talked about you. You're going to be on city council next year.
So. Chris is,
That's
or
so
you
funny.
are?
No, Chris. It was a joke. Yeah.
All right. Should we wrap this up?
I think so.
All right. Well, that was fun. Salem's coming back.
So excited.
We're
Don't call it a comeback. We never left.
Been here for years.
We've been here for years.
Just been waiting to get in where we fit in.
All right, Deal Junkies. Hey, we love you guys. Please share us with someone you love, and we'll see you next time.